Okay, hello everybody. Hi everyone. Can you hear me? Just let me know if you can hear me. Yay! Okay, are you sure? Because last time I started a live, okay, perfect. Last time I started a live, nobody could hear me and I freaked out and I had to restart the live. So this is good. Hello everybody. Welcome to the live. I'm very, very excited to have my math students with me here today. So welcome to everybody. I hope you all had a brilliant day at school, at home, wherever you were doing your studies, if you went to school, if you didn't go to school, if you were studying for your matric exams, if you're in grade 11. Yes, you did. Okay, good. Who's studying for the matric exams? Let me know. Grade 12. Who's in grade 12? Who's studying? And who's in grade 11? I want to know how many grade 11s we have and how many grade 12s we have. Let's see. Let's start a poll. Okay, so what grade are you in? Oh, I'm seeing. Okay, wait, hold on. I have to read these comments. Okay, I'm seeing lots of 11s. I'm seeing more 11s. Grade 12s, where are you? Send it to your grade 12 friends. Send it to your grade 11 friends. Okay. I'm honestly seeing more grade 11s, which is a good thing. It's a good thing, guys, because I'm doing algebra for grade 11 and grade 12. As everybody should know, the algebra that you taught in grade 11 is tested in grade 12. So, what I'm doing today will be for both grades. I know that in grade 12, algebra is not necessarily the section that you are most stressed about when you're preparing for finals. However, I do think that sometimes it's a bit underrated. It is the easier section in the paper, but for some people, because they think it's easier, and it is, but because they're like, oh, it's too easy, I'm not going to study it at all. They don't go through it, they don't practice past papers, and then they fall flat in the algebra. They make silly mistakes, and I'm not about that. We're going to make sure that we don't have silly mistakes. Hi, if you're in grade 10, you can also definitely learn something from the live. Okay, we are going to be doing past papers. We're going to start in 2 minutes because I did say 5:30 to my subscribers and my followers. I definitely will be starting at 5:30. So it's 2 minutes to go. I started a little bit earlier so I could chat to all of you. So, a lot of questions. When are you doing chemistry? So, physical sciences students, look out for my communications on either this channel or my other social media channels. I will be posting when I will be doing physical sciences. Um, I'm starting with a physics lesson, hopefully circuits, because that's what most people were saying to me, that they want to see circuits. Okay, so this will be posted on YouTube. Lives are saved automatically once they are completed. So if I choose to do that, and I definitely will choose to do that. Okay, so let me know, physics learners, before we starting the math lesson. I know some of you don't do physical sciences, but please let me know in the chat what physics topic you would like to see for next Wednesday. Okay? This is a new thing that I'm trying to do. Thank you. I'm seeing some really awesome comments. You guys are amazing. I'm trying to do more lives and more lessons with you all. So if I don't get to doing what you would like, okay, then in this lesson, then you need to communicate with me via comments on my channel or any platform. I do read all my comments. Some people think I don't read my comments. I read every single comment that comes through. I try and respond to as many as I can. I do read them, so I will see. Okay. Okay, I'm seeing all of the questions or all of the suggestions. I will look at that. But it's almost time for mathematics. So I will explain. Oh, there we go. It's past. Officially time for mathematics. So first of all, again, for those people that have just joined now, because it just went 5:30, I want to welcome you to my lesson. Thank you so much for chatting. It really helps if you are all chatting in the chat. I like to get to know you and to see you. I always see comments on YouTube, but that's never live. So it's always exciting for me to see live comments. I love it. So keep talking to me, keep letting me know what you want to see, because like I said, I will do more in the future. I know I see a lot of redox reactions there. I see you, I hear you. Okay, so starting with mathematics. what I'll be doing is I'm going to be sharing my screen. Now, I tested this yesterday because I'm just that type of person that I get anxious about doing things properly. And so I wanted to make sure that that sharing the screen worked. And it does, but it's just it lags a little bit. So you need to tell me if at any point you can't hear me, see me, or if there's any issues. I'm working through PowerPoint because it's the best method for me to work through. So, I first of all want to say before we start the lesson, thank you all for taking your time to attend. And I want to tell you before the lesson gets busy, I will be reminding you, but I have to tell you that I've decided to do this live lesson using a platform called studyclix. So you'll see over there, it's mentioned. I love this platform. I had a grade 11 student. I don't know if she's in here at the moment. If she is, she knows who she is. And she came to me the other day and she said, Ma'am, have you heard about this platform? It is so useful. It is so cool. And she told me about it. I had already known about it because I found them and I've been using them myself. They're called studyclix. Let me just show you quickly because you need to know about this if you're in grade 11 and in grade 12. It's super useful. So basically, you you go onto the website, you can create a free profile. However, you can upgrade your profile and then you have access to everything. But the free profile is also good. But I would recommend upgrading it if you get stuck, you need more question papers. They have all these subjects. So, who of you take any of these other subjects? I already know some of my physical sciences learners are in here, but there's other subjects as well here that they have. And how it works is you click on your subject. So today we're doing mathematics. And then as you can see on the left-hand side of my screen, it lists all the topics under mathematics. And then you click on the topic. So for example, I clicked on equations and inequalities, exponents, and surds today, and it gives you past papers. But that's not the brilliant part because we all know that these past papers are free to access. What I love about this particular South African site, they base it on our curriculum, it's our national exams, is that they take each question and they do the memo and they give tips. They give tips in their memo. Like, look at this. They tell you what to do. If you do a normal past paper and you look at the memo, I know my math students sometimes they're like, "Ma'am, I practiced this past paper and I saw the paper and I had no idea what it was saying." I mean, it just randomly says steps. This tells you what to do in the question. It also shows you where the marks go. So I'll show you there. It shows you where the marks go. It shows you how to get to the answer. You cannot beat this. This is necessary, in my opinion. So that's what we'll be using in the lesson. Okay. So it's called studyclix. Studyclix. And I will mention it again at some point because it's such a good platform. But if they were so nice because I mean they know that I love their platform and they know that I'm sharing it with my students, that they gave me a code for all of my students, which it's all of you guys. And if you type this code in, you get a discount off of the premium or the study plus. So you can create a free profile. You have access to seeing past paper questions. But if you want the full library of it, goes like you can scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, and there's so much there, then you need to upgrade your account with this promo code. Okay, I'll speak about it again later, but let's get started. So the goal of this lesson is to do algebra. And yes, so there is a free version of studyclix and it's excellent. So I used the study version for a while. And yes, you can upgrade though if you want. Okay, so I would recommend it though because it gives you a lot more. Okay, so there's a lot there that is free, but obviously if you want more. So if you're like me when I was in school, I practiced. So many past papers. Okay, so goal of the lesson is exam revision for grade 11 and grade 12 algebra. So I know some people were asking me if I'm going to be doing the full paper one. Unfortunately, not in this live. I'm breaking it up into subtopics. I have chosen algebra because multiple reasons, but first of all, grade 11s and 12s write on essentially the same algebra. That's the one reason. The second reason is because grade 12s, your finals are coming up. Okay. And algebra is a section that a lot of people brush off because they're like, oh, we did that last year and it's easy. But there's a lot of places where you can make mistakes. So take this grade 12s as your revision session for algebra, and then you should be, I hope that is you good to go. Maybe practice another few papers. Okay, so I'm also going to be giving you teacher tips and the tips that they share on studyclix, which I think is very useful. And I'll be speaking about errors that are often made just to show you the algebra in your paper. It is a significant portion. So for grade 12s, it's 25 out of 150. For grade 11s, for all of you that are in the chat, it's this much. That's a lot. Okay, algebra is a lot for grade 11. It's also important for grade 12. It can really boost your marks. This is a screenshot from the ATP. So what in algebra can they ask you? And as I told you, we're going to be using this platform. I'll say it again, studyclix. I think it's amazing. Since I discovered it, I tell my students about it. And yeah, now I'm telling you, my students. So we're going to start off with a past paper question. Now, because I want to do quite a lot in this one lesson, I'm going to mostly be doing it with you. Okay? I'm mostly going to be doing it with you. So I'm not necessarily going to give you time to try first and then me do it because it'll take too much time. And also then we'll all be sitting here awkwardly while I'll be sitting here like while everybody's working, which isn't a bad thing, but I would rather spend more time doing more examples with you. So the first paper that I've chosen to do is a 2024 May-June paper, a rewrite paper. And some people are of the opinion that these papers are a little bit more difficult than the final papers. I don't know about that. They are supposed to be of the same standard, but sometimes people do view them as more challenging. So it's a good way to practice for finals. So just because you're writing final exams doesn't mean you can't go over May, June papers. Please don't make that mistake. You can, and we will. Okay, so the first question. Oh, and another thing that I wanted to say to you is what I'm seeing on my screen right now is the PowerPoint in full. So I can't see the chat. To see the chat, I have to go back to my YouTube screen. I will do that every now and then, but I might miss stuff. I'm never ignoring you, okay? Please don't think I'm ignoring you. If you have recommendations for future videos and stuff, please type them in the chat and I will get to them. Okay, in future. Okay. Amazing. You want some time? Okay, I'll try and give you some time for some of the questions. Okay. Right. Let's do this. How long is this live going to last? I'm planning to go until 6:30. Okay. Let's do this. So, the first question, I'm going to be doing all of these. So, if you want to quickly try it with me, grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, grab a calculator. Let's do it. So, in my first one, and this is, as you know, algebra for grade 12s is question 1. Okay. It's question 1. If you study it well, you can get really good marks for the section. It can boost your marks overall, and you can save some time here if you work effectively and efficiently to alleviate you, so you can have more time for the more difficult sections in the paper. Okay. So, in my first question, you can see it's an equation, solve for x immediately. And this is always going to be a question in grade 11 and in grade 12. It's a quadratic equation. And quadratic equations for the grade 10s that are listening, because grade 10s also do this, as soon as you see an x squared in your equation like that, it's an equation, it's equal to, in this case, it's equal to 0. As soon as you see the x squared, you know that it's quadratic. You know you have to get it into standard form. So standard form means that it must be equal to 0. Then what you need to do is factorize. So we're going to take out an x. We're going to be left with 3x plus 5 equals 0. Once it's factorized, we take each part, each piece, if I can say it like that, this x equals 0, or the or will always separate your answers. This bracket must equal 0. We make each bracket equal to 0. This is an easy one. This is a standard one. This is one that you should be not even really thinking about at all, and you should get 2 out of 2 for that question. Okay. If there's any questions about any of these, please write them in the chat and I'll see if I can see them and attend to them. Okay. Right. Okay. Let's carry on. Just to show you, this is the studyclix. This is their memo. So what's nice, like I said about studyclix, is that not only do they tell you where the marks are allocated like a normal memo, but they give you tips. They tell you what to do. Right. Our next question. And this is one of the questions where people mess up. And it's not supposed to be a difficult question. What would I do in this question? Who wants to tell me what would I do in this question? Yes, of course I can show you where you get the marks. Of course. Okay. Quadratic formula. Excellent. And how do you know, what is the hint that they give you to use the quadratic formula? They give you a very obvious hint in the question for people that aren't aware. What they say is answer correct to 2 decimal places. So when they say that, immediately we use the quadratic formula. Don't even attempt to do normal factorizing here, normal trinomial. It's not going to work. We use the quadratic formula immediately. It must be in standard form. So it must be equal to 0. This is your A value. That is your B value. Let's change that. That's your B value. And this over here is your C value. Then, what is essential for you to do? You get a mark for this, grade 11s and grade 12s, is that you all know the formula. Okay, I'm going to write it quickly for grade 12s. It is on your formula sheet. In grade 11, in your final exam, you should receive it on your formula sheet. That is your formula. Please excuse how long that thing is. It's fine. There we go. You do not need to write this down. But what you do need to do is you need to show me substitution into the formula. You need to. So what I mean is it goes negative b. So we're going to go negative 3 plus minus the square root of b squared. So 3 squared minus 4a. Oops, why am I writing a? 4a c over 2a, like that. You have to show me the substitution into the formula. You can see over here, the memo awards a mark for correct substitution into the formula. So for those of you that have those fancy calculators where you can get the answer immediately using the calculator, that's fine. Use that as a check, a way to check your answer. You have to show substitution to get a mark. And then, of course, your answers. X is equal to 0.80 or X is equal to negative 1.55. And another thing that I want to say, knowing how they mark this, take note of how the question says answers correct to 2 decimal places. And they put 2 in big capital letters. What that means is your calculator is going to tell you X is equal to 0.8. You have to write it to 2 decimal places. So you have to add a 0 at the end there. And then your other answer, you put an or in between because we've got 2 solutions. X can be that one or it can be the other. X is equal to negative 1.55. 2 solutions, quadratic. Okay, let me just check the comments to see if everybody's okay. Okay. Yes, the fancy calculators can give you the answers immediately. 2 decimal places. Excellent. Okay, next question. This one is a struggle, especially when you learn it for the first time in grade 11. I know that it's challenging. I know that it's difficult. I know that my grade 11s struggle with this. So, this question is an inequality. And I know that because of this. Okay? This symbol over here. It's not a normal equal sign. However, up to a point, we do treat this as if it's a normal equation. But we have to do things here that's different to a normal equation. Our answer is going to be in the form of an inequality. It's not going to be x is equal to something. It's going to be x is bigger than or equal to or smaller than, something like that. Okay? We have to find critical values. So what would my first step be in 1.1.3? Easy. Yeah, it's not that hard for a lot of people. Thank you, Daniel. You're so sweet. I will be doing grade 11 physics. Okay. If b is a negative value, is it a must to write down the minus or can I write down a positive value since a if b is a negative value. Are you talking about in the previous question? So over here, if b is a negative value. Yeah, sub it incorrectly. Okay, just sub it in normally. Okay, but back to this one. Okay, back to this one. Let's see. So what I would have to do in this question first is I would have to put this into standard form. And I hope you know standard form and what that is. Yes, expand the bracket. Okay, so expand the bracket. So essentially what I've got here is you don't have to show the expansion of the bracket like that, but essentially what you have is that if you multiply this out, you're going to end up with x squared minus 2x plus 1 minus 9. Okay, then what you would do is you would simplify this. So standard form, it's already equal to 0, if I can say it like that. X squared minus 2x minus 8 bigger than 0. You must get it into standard form. Getting it into standard form actually gets you a mark. Okay? Like that. Okay. Now I do see that some people are saying that if you do something like this, you must take it over and then square root both sides. If you're going to be doing that, what you end up doing is losing a solution. So it won't necessarily work. It's not going to work. You need to get it into standard form. So my tip, my hint, my teacher trick is as soon as you see an x squared, as soon as you see a squared or this becomes a squared, it's quadratic, you have to get it into standard form. Then what we're going to do is we are going to factorize. So you would factorize it like that. I hope that you all understand why and how I factorized it. I'm not going to waste too much time on how I factorized it because that's more the grade 10 work. So grade 10s, if you are in here and you'd like to know how I did that, then I do have videos on that and I'm hoping to go live for grade 10 as well. Okay, so standard form, factorize. Then the way that I do this is I write down my critical values. I call it CVs, critical values. My two critical values is -2 and 4. Now, yes, you can technically say x is -2. That's my one critical value. X is 4. That's my other critical value. The reason why I don't necessarily like to say that at this stage is because some people think that that's their answer and then they leave it. And if you're not careful with how you structure your final answer in the test and where you write this, your marker might think that you're saying that that's the final answer, but it's not. Those are your critical values. Then what you do with the critical values is that you put them either on a number line, or what I prefer to do is I draw a little parabola, a quadratic function. As you know, this is a quadratic function. So drawing the quadratic function would be something like this. This would be my one critical value, -2. This would be my other critical value, 4. You draw a parabola, quadratic function, and some people might be like, ma'am, how do you know that it's a happy one? So I call it a happy parabola like this, or a sad parabola. I'm sure most teachers do that. And how do you know that it's happy? Anyone want to tell us how we know that it's a happy parabola? It's happy because this a value, what we call the a value, the coefficient of x squared, is positive. Okay, so back to the question. How do we proceed? Do we answer the question? Another way that we can do this, just by the way, a lot of teachers teach this with a number line. So you put your two critical values on a number line. Then what you need to do is, I am sure you are all aware that here my y values for my parabola are positive. My parabola is positive here and here, and it's negative underneath. Okay, so positive up there, negative down below. Positive means bigger than 0, negative means smaller than 0. So, what is my question asking for? It's asking, where is this bigger than or equal to 0? So, the parts of the parabola, the parts of my function that I care about is where it is positive, which would be here, Then you stop. Okay, it goes to -2 as well. And then it's here. It's not that underneath section over there. Then how would you answer this? Because writing down the answer itself is where most students lose their marks. Because they want to know, where is it bigger than 0? You know that it's bigger than 0 for all of those x values and all of those x values. Think about a random x value, and that's where the number line comes into play as well. If I had to have a number in between -2 and 4, say, for example, 1. 1 is somewhere over here, right? And my parabola is negative down there. So for all of those values between -2 and 4, that does not answer my question, which is, where is it bigger than 0? How the number line works is you choose a number smaller than -2 and you substitute it in, and you will see that it is positive. Substitute a number between -2 and 4 in, and you will see that it gives you a negative. Substitute a number in that is bigger than 4, and you'll see that it gives you a positive. I don't do the number line. There's nothing wrong with the number line. So I'll leave it here for those people that do it. -2, 4, this will be positive, negative, and positive. So I care about this and this. I care about the x values that go this way. So in other words, x is bigger than or equal to 4, or the x values that go this way. X is less than or equal to -2. So it's basically all the x values that go this way because the arm of the parabola is going that way, and all the x values that are bigger than 4 because the arm of the parabola is going that way. Okay, now, very important, few things here. How do you know that it's bigger than and equal to? How do you know that it's smaller than or equal to? It's because of the question. So here, if the question just said this, so blah, 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 and they use just bigger than, then your answers would just include these. I hope that makes sense. Another thing that people get confused about is they want to join these answers. How I think about it and how I teach my learners is that so I draw the parabola like you see it on the screen and I highlight it. If I have highlighted two separate branches, so let's call this the first branch, that corresponds to the first answer. Then I've highlighted what I call the second branch, that corresponds to the second answer. Two separate answers, two branches. Say, for example, and I will go over that now. Hold on. I'm going to change the question up and I'll show you how it's different. I just want to show you, this is the memo for studyclix. So if you just join now, I'm using this platform to help us practice our paper and to go through papers. So they tell you standard form gets you a mark, critical values gets you a mark, and then for your final answer, which is here and here. Okay, answers, they actually end up sometimes giving this as 2 or nothing. Okay, sometimes. Then they give you tips on how to do the question. Multiply out the binomial squared. Simplify the inequality. Factorize. Find your critical values. Use a parabola or a sine table. Let me just check if there's any questions on this so far. Okay. Let me see. Okay. You do both at the same time? I also. Um, Okay. Yeah, I'm not a geography teacher, unfortunately. Let's say, I am qualified in teaching life sciences. So you never know what the future may hold. Okay. So how do I know where to shade the parabola? Is that what you're asking? Um, I'm not showing off. I love life sciences, but I prefer physical sciences and maths. Is the number line important in the exam? No, it's not. But we use it in order to help us. Okay. Wherever sign goes confuses me. I understand. I'm going to do another one. Okay. Okay. Will this be on your channel? Yes, it will be. Okay, let's go back to this. I'm going to be doing exponents now. Okay, I'm just going to go back to this. I don't see any questions on this in particular, but what I do want to ask you is, what if I change the question and I flipped the inequality sign like this? What you would do is you would follow the same procedure. So you would end up with a equation like this, once again, an inequality. You would factorize it the exact same way. I haven't changed anything else except I've flipped the sign like that. Your critical values would still be -2 and 4. You would still draw your parabola. It would still be a happy parabola. This would still be -2. This would still be +4. Everything stays the same up till this point. So same factorizing, same critical values. So what changes is my answer. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds quickly to figure out what your answer would be in this particular question. How would it change? How would you write it? You can actually kind of type it in the chat. Let's see. You might not be able to do the equals part of the sign. Can you do measurement grade 11? Oh, that's a great one. I'm doing grade 12 physical sciences for the next one. I will be doing that. Okay, joint answer I'm seeing. Oh, I like your creative use of the equal sign and that's very smart. Okay, right, let's go. So what I'm looking for now is, as you know, the parabola is positive here, it's positive here, and down here, it's negative. And the question is asking, where is this less than or equal to, less than or equal to 0? So where is it negative? So the parabola is negative down here. And now this is what I tell my students. It's one loop, so it's one answer. X is going to go in the middle. Your smallest critical value is going to go here. Your biggest critical value is going to go there. Okay? That's how we start it. And then what we do is we put in our signs like this. Okay? Our signs will most likely always face that direction. And the reason is simple. The reason why is because X is between these two numbers. So X is bigger than or equal to -2. In other words, let me change my color. X is bigger than or equal to -2. So it's going this way on the number line. And X is smaller. And X is smaller than or equal to 4. So can you see how it's all of these X values, which corresponds to this part of the parabola? So one loop, one answer. Let's go back to the previous one. Two loops, two answers. Please, please, please don't mix it up. It happens all the time. People that are confident in algebra mess this up. Okay, let's see what everyone is saying. It's not compulsory to shade them, not at all. Okay, let's keep going. Ooh, what about this one? How about this one? What do I do over here? Let's see what everybody says. Okay. So this is a exponential equation question, which again, a lot of people do struggle with. So how you do this question really depends on your preferences and what you feel most comfortable with, what you prefer doing. But there's actually 3 methods to do this. A lot of people are going to say, let me check. A lot of people are going to say the K method. Oh, yes, I see it. There it is. There it is. The K method. I see it. I knew it. Beautiful. I'll do the K method as well. Okay. I will do the K method as well. I see some people asking for bolder notation. I will include different notations in my next round of questions. Okay, so in this particular question, I hope you all are aware of the fact that, so if I had to do the K method, you would say, let's do the K method first because it seems popular. If I were to do the K method, you would say, let 5 to the power of x equal k. right? And the reason why we let 5 to the power of x equal k is because technically this first term, which is 5 to the power of 2x, that can be rewritten as this. I hope you know that. Okay, so 5 to the power of x to the power of 2. How are these the same? Because you would multiply the exponents and it gets you here. So it's the same thing. So what we can do is we can let 5 to the power of x equal k. So instead of that nonsense, we can just say k squared, okay, minus k equals 0. Then from there, you know what to do. You factorize. You take out a k as a common factor. You're left with k minus 1 is equal to 0. You then say k is equal to 0 or k minus 1 is equal to 0. Okay? Then what you do is you replace k with 5 to the power of x. However, one of these solutions is not applicable. Okay? I'm going to just redraw them up here just because I feel like it's a bit easier for me to work a little bit higher. Like that. Okay. Now, I need you to think about something. Can you put any value in the place of x and then get 0 as an answer? You can't. If you put 1 in there, 5 to the power of 1 is 5. If you put 0 in there, you're going to get 5 to the power of 0 is 1. If you put a negative in there, so 5 to the power of negative 1, you know that that is 1 over 5. So you cannot. It's not applicable. So what we do is we have to say not applicable. You have to cross it out. It's not applicable. Then my next one, 5 to the power of x minus 1 equals 0. How would you solve that? You take the negative 1, or you add 1 to both sides. It's mathematically incorrect, by the way, everybody, to say you take the negative 1 over. That's not proper maths language. You're supposed to say you add 1 to both sides. I think everybody knows that, though. So you add 1 to both sides. Then the golden rule that for some reason people forget about, especially my grade 11s, is that 1 can be rewritten as 5 to the power of 0. Anything to the power of 0, or almost anything to the power of 0 is 1, with the exception of 0 to the power of 0, because that's undefined, but we don't talk about that. Anything else to the power of 0 is 1. So essentially this is that. I hope that makes sense. Then you may drop your bases, so x is equal to 0. That's using the k method. Of course, you don't have to use the k method. So I'll show you studyclix's memo where they use an alternative. Okay. I'm seeing people in the comments saying all the other sections that they want for math. I will try and get to that in the future if you let me know what you want to see. Okay, let me just show you. Here's another method. Just a reminder, if you want access to all of the questions in studyclix. So if I show you my account now, you will see I can scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. So many past papers with tips. It's so good. It's so good. Okay. It tells you exactly what to do. So it basically says here, basically the same thing. They just didn't use the K method. So what they did is they essentially said that 5 to the power of 2x minus 5 to the power of x is equal to 0. They basically saying that I can rewrite this like that, which we know is true. Then this term, that's one term. That's a separate term. We take out 5 to the power of x as a common factor. If you take 5 to the power of x, if you divide the yellow term by 5 to the power of x, you're left with 5 to the power of x. If you divide the green term by 5 to the power of x, you're left with negative 1. It's the same thing. So whether you want to do the K method or not, you'll get exactly the same answer. Okay. I'm not seeing any urgent questions unless I'm missing it. Are there other topics too on the website? Everything is on the studyclix website. So every single topic is there. Everything. So all the maths for grade 12 and grade 11s can also use that, because grade 11 maths, a lot of the maths you do in grade 11 is tested again in grade 12 and vice versa. Okay, I see a lot of people want functions as well. I like functions. Functions is one of my favorites. Okay, 1.1.5. This is another question where a lot of learners go wrong, unfortunately, in their test. Okay? But hold on. Before I do this, I just realized something super important. I have to go back. I'm so sorry. I have to go back to this question over here. Now, obviously, at being a teacher, I mark maths papers, and I know that if you do not say the word or here, you will get the answer wrong. You must say or. You cannot say and you cannot do a semicolon. None of that. You have to say or. If you're unsure and freaking out in the test and you're like, oh, is it or and, rather leave it blank than say the wrong thing. But it has to be or. Okay. You can sometimes lose 2 marks if you say the wrong thing. If you say and, for example, you must say or. Okay. Moving on. Let's do our next question, which is another one where students go wrong. That is this question. Here we've got a root. Okay. Now, in this question, your number one goal is to get your roots by itself. Get that third by itself on one side of the equation. At this moment in time, we are dividing by root 20 minus x. Can't have it. I don't want it. I want that by itself. So how would I get rid of it? It's in the denominator. You can say cross multiply because you can, or you can say multiply both sides by 20 root 20 minus x. Those will cancel. Multiply this side by root 20 minus x. So what we'll have on this side is root 20 minus x, and on this side we will have x. That's your first step. To isolate that gets you a mark. There it is. Yeah, isolating the third gets you a mark. Then what you need to do is you need to square both sides. So you're going to square the entire left-hand side. You're going to square the entire right-hand side like that. Now, another common mistake that I see learners make in this particular question, and I actually need to find one to show you. So let me just get one quickly. It's much easier if I have an actual example. Yeah, I got one. Okay. Say, for example, this is your question. I just got another random one off of studyclix. Say that's your question. What you would have to do is first get the third by itself. You have to make sure the third is isolated on the one side of the equation. Okay. So you would first minus both sides by 2, like that. Okay. So basically this, I subtracted 2 on both sides. That gets rid of it. It's x minus 2. Then you have to square both sides. I could have actually showed you. No, I couldn't. Then you square both sides of the equation like this. Now, what I see a lot of students do wrong is they want to square these things individually. No, 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 no. You have to tell yourself, square the entire left-hand side, square the entire right-hand side as a whole. You can't square them individually. There's a massive difference, please, grade 12s and grade 11s. There's a massive difference between this versus this, and then squaring the -2 to become +4. A huge, huge, huge difference. And it's things like this that people do, and then they lose all them. Like from that point onwards, they lose everything. Okay. You have to square the entire left-hand side. So just to show you what would happen in this question. Okay. I'm not going to finish the entire question, but what would happen is you would square this 2. So 2 squared is 4. And then, as you know, if you are squaring this, the root. If you're squaring a third there or a square root here, it basically ends up canceling it out. So you end up with that. And on this side, you end up with x squared, and then you end up with a middle term of negative 4x. Super important. And then plus 4 when you do it properly. The reason why is because you are squaring a binomial. If you do the FOIL method properly here, it's x times x, which is x squared, x times negative 2, negative 2x, another negative 2x. That's where the negative 4x comes from. So squaring the x and squaring the negative 2 individually is incorrect. And then you would take that question from that point onwards. I hope that this is helping some people. Let me know if I've helped you yet, even with one thing. Let me know if you've learned something new today at least, or you've been reminded of something important. I hope I'm helping. It would be nice to know. Okay, right. Anyway, back to our particular question. So this would be x squared. As I just mentioned, you're squaring the root, so that just ends up with 20 minus x. Again, as soon as you see an x squared, what we would have to do, yay, I'm helping. Okay, thank you. Okay, when you see an x squared, you have to get it into standard form. So what that means, make it equal to 0. I like to avoid a negative x, right? We don't like negative x's. No, we don't like those. We want positive x's. So I'm going to keep the x squared here. It's going to be a plus x, and it's going to be a negative 20. So I basically just subtract 20, add x, then I factorize. So I've got x plus 5, x minus 4 equals 0. So therefore, x is equal to 4 or x is equal to 5. Now, somebody tell me, am I done? Am I done? Did I do it? Did I do it? Have I got my 5 marks? Can I move on with my life? That's my question. Can I move on with my life? So you would get a mark for squaring both sides. So this is isolating. I'm waiting to see what people say. Isolate the third. This is square both sides. Square both sides. I'll show you studyclix memo now. Then standard form. Okay. Then we're going to get a mark for our answers. Am I done? No, I'm not done. I have to cancel. I have to test. I have to check. I'm so proud of you guys. You can get the lesson offline. Yes. Test the answers. Good. Excellent. 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 You have to check. Now, what do I mean by check? For those people that haven't done this in a while, or maybe you've forgotten, what we mean when we say check is your left-hand side of your equation. Let me just get rid of this so you can see what I mean. Your left-hand side of your equation has to equal the right-hand side of the equation for the equation to be true. When we do this section of work, this particular equation, one of our answers, most likely, most of the time, ends up having to be excluded. You have to reject the answer. Okay. And you do that by checking. So, what I mean is, and you can do this in your brain, or you quickly pick up your calculator and you do it on your calculator. You don't need to write this down. You do not need to write this down. I'm going to, so I can show you. You take your answer and you put it in the place of x. So, it's going to be 4 over square root of 20 minus 4, which is 4 over square root 16. That is 4 divided by 4, which is 1. And this left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. So this answer is correct. This answer is beautiful, lovely. Thank you for existing answer. You're amazing. You have to then check the right-hand side, the other answer, x is equal to 5. So if we go 5, so this is the left-hand side, 5 over 20 minus 5. So it's going to be, oh, sorry, this is a negative 5. I see why everyone was screaming at me earlier. That's a negative 5. That's a negative 5. Sorry, guys. Everybody makes mistakes. I just forgot a negative. It's not a big deal. We do that all the time. Obviously, it's a negative 5 because x plus 5 equals 0. We subtract 5 on both sides. Okay, like that. Or x minus 4 equals 0. x is equal to 4. Well done, everybody, for picking up on that. Excellent. Anyway, so we must substitute that in. You are correct. It's a -5. So we would have to sub in. So we're going to do minus -5. I thought that was looking a bit funny when I was checking my answer there. That's the square root of 25, which is -5 over 5, which is -1. That left-hand side does not equal the right-hand side. Nope, doesn't equal. So we have to reject that answer. Okay, thank you for the corrections, everybody. Just a little slip on my part. Can they both be correct? I have seen it before, but most of the time, one has to be rejected. Okay, you have to check. Yeah, it was just a mistake. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I can't see you spamming because I can't see the screen. It just shows you need to be very awake when doing maths. But this is the good news, everybody. When you do your maths finals, it's 9 a.m. It's not going to be 6 p.m. like it is right now. When it's 6 p.m., we get sleepy and we make silly mistakes. Obviously, I knew that it was a negative. I'm just really tired. Okay, so here's the studyclix answer, right? But look at the memo. Look at the beautiful memo. They explain exactly how to approach the question. And they do this for all the topics, like I said. So if you struggle with probability, if you struggle with functions, if you struggle with finance or whatever, it's like this for all the sections. So I would recommend it highly. I like the teacher tips and the explanations on the side. It really is helpful. I just want to contrast that with a normal memo. This is a normal memo. Normal memo, no explanation. Okay, they give you that, but like, look how they explain things here. I mean, what more do you want? Okay, simultaneous equation. So solve for x and y simultaneously. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Doesn't matter to me. Okay. Don't worry, it's okay. What's the website? Excellent question. It's called studyclix. You can make a free profile on studyclix. studyclix, and you can access some of their past papers. But this code is if you want access to everything, okay? And it is worth it, especially if you're preparing for final exams, I would say. studyclix, you type it in. Okay. How do we feel about simultaneous equations? I don't think it's bad. Okay. You don't have to pay for the free version of studyclix. Oh, thank you for saying I'm helpful. That really makes me happy. It's for grade 11s and grade 12s. Okay. How does it work? So you just go onto their website and you sign up. You create a profile with a website with the email. So at the end of the lesson, I'll show you. Okay. So you just type in studyclix onto Google. That's how I access it. studyclix, and you'll see it's got this little like green little guy, and it is free. They sometimes give you hard simultaneous. I agree. Okay, let's do it. So the key for simultaneous equations is that you have to pick the easiest one, the one that's easier to work with, which would be this one, and you have to choose a variable to make the subject of the equation. As you know, that means that you have to get that variable alone. You have to isolate that variable. So I'm going to choose to isolate this variable, y. That means I say 9 minus x. What I've done now is I've taken version 1 of my first equation and I've just rewritten it. So this is now my equation 1 and this is my equation 2. It does not make sense to try and start manipulating this equation. It's more complicated. So always start with the linear one if you can. They often like to mix a linear with, say, a quadratic one or something like that. So start with the linear one if you can. Okay, isolate the variable. Then I'm going to sub number 1 into number 2. So everywhere, well, actually, it's not going to be that number 1. It's going to be this number 1. I'm going to sub this number 1. So everywhere where you see a y, you're going to substitute that in the place of y. So it's going to be 2x squared minus 9 minus x, don't forget to square it because this y is being squared, equals 7. Then what you need to do is calmly, don't try and skip steps, do algebra like normal. So leave the negative out here. As you know, this becomes a binomial squared like that. So this is going to be 81, then minus 18x plus x squared equals 7, minus 81 plus 18x minus x squared equals 7. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get it into standard form because I see an x squared. So I have to get it into standard form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2x squared minus 81 plus 18x minus x squared minus 7 equals 0. Some of you are like, oh, ma'am, speed it up. You can skip steps. I know I'm doing it slowly because there are some people in the chat that really are struggling with algebra. Okay, you have to just understand that. Like that. Finally, we got it into standard form. Of course, if you can do some of this stuff faster and you're confident with your shortcuts, like there's a shortcut for squaring a binomial, you can get to this immediately, then do it. But please know what you are doing. Then factorize. So we're going to do a trinomial here. So that means that x is equal to negative 22. Let me not make my mistake again. Or x is equal to 4. Please, I get so sad because a lot of my students that I teach, they stop when they get to this point. They forget that it's a simultaneous equation. You have to solve for x and y. So we've got two values for x, which does make sense because I've got a quadratic equation here. Now to sub for y, I simply substitute that back. Substitute it back into the easier equation, please. So it's going to be y equals 9 minus negative 22, which is 31, and y equals 9 minus 4, so y is 5. In this particular memo, let me show you the memo. Let me just pause for a second to see if everybody's okay. Okay. 5 marks is little. I know 5 marks is a little. You can definitely say x is equal to 9 minus y. And what's nice about the studyclix, like the memos, like their thing, is that they show both options in the memo. Yes, isolating x is perfect. Did anyone make x a subject of the formula? Let me show you both answers. I think I put both answers here from studyclix. So this is making y the subject of the formula. There's your answers. And then they tell you how to do it again. So again, this is studyclix. That's their memo. It's their writing. I didn't include the other option. They do on studyclix though. They do isolate the x and they get exactly the same answer. Okay. Why are you guys getting a different answer? Okay. The code is not working. Do you mean Miss M100? Is that not working? It should work. Okay. If you choose to isolate X, the answer will be exactly the same. Yes, I can show you that memo if you'd like me to. I can go get that for you. Okay, cool. Now, I know that I said that I would do it, I would go till 6. I'm happy to, if we do another question or two, to go past that. But I would like to know from what you see on the screen in front of you, which question would you like to do with me? Maybe we can do one or two more. Definitely one more because we have time. Oh, where do we get the marks? I'm so sorry. My bad. Let me go back. Okay, so you get a mark for isolating. Isolating is a mark. You get a mark for taking that, what y is equal to, and subbing it into the formula. So subbing. You get a mark for standard form. you get 1 mark for both your x values and 1 mark for both your y values. So their memo on studyclix tells you exactly where the marks go as well, which is really, really nice. They also explain here how to do it. Okay. Okay, let me see what everybody's saying. 1.1.4. I'm seeing a lot of 1.1.4s. Let's do a poll quickly. Let me go back to the question quickly. Okay, there's the questions. Let's do, okay, 1.1.1. Sorry, I'm just typing it quickly so we can do a poll. Do you want to do another K method question? Okay, I can only add 5 options, that's not good. Okay, there's my poll. Okay. While you guys are voting on that, I think I'm going to show you the answers to 1.1.1, just because I don't think anybody's going to vote for 1.1.1. So it's just a normal, you factorize it, you get a mark for factorizing, you get a mark for that answer, you get a mark for that answer. As soon as you see x squared, make it equal to 0, factorize. 1.1.2, I don't think anybody's going to vote for that one either. I might be wrong though. A few people did. So for 1.1.2, what we would do is, let me show you the memo. So the question for 1.1.2 looks like this. Okay, you would first multiply it out. So 3x squared plus 5x equals 1. You get it into standard form like that. So distribute, standard form. So you take the 1 over essentially. Then you've got your A value, your B value, and your C value. This over here is a hint that you must use the quadratic formula, as I mentioned earlier. So if you see that, that is a hint for you to use the quadratic formula. And then there's your answers. Okay, let's see the poll. Okay, I'm going to end it. Let's see. Did I skip 1.1.4 in my question? Did I do that? That is crazy that I did that. Okay, 1.1.5 gets the most votes. I'm actually going to cry because why did I do that? Why was I rude to 1.1.4? What did that ever do to me? Rude. Okay, so let's do 1.1.4 because I think a lot of people want it. Okie dokie. Where's my 1.1.4? There it is. Okay, so what we do is because we've got the surd, it's our surd question, we square both sides. Oh, what is going on here? We square both sides. Always square both sides. The square and the root cancel each other out, so we're left with that. This one is going to be x minus 1 and x minus 1. The reason I write it out twice is to just remind you that you are squaring a binomial. So you have to do it properly. You cannot take shortcuts. I do way more steps than what is necessary here, but I'm rather going to do it slowly and properly so that everybody who's watching can understand. Okay, then because I see an x squared, I get it into standard form. And what I end up getting is this, a difference of two squares situation. So it's x plus 1, x minus 1. So therefore, x is equal to 1 or x is equal to negative 1. But we must check our answers. So to check, what we do to check is we take this answer, we put it in the place of x on the left-hand side. If we check this answer, and I do the left-hand side, what I end up getting is 0. The right-hand side, if I put 1 in the place of x here, 1 minus 1 is also 0. So therefore, the right-hand side is equal to the left-hand side. So therefore, this answer is valid. If you checked this answer, I'm not going to do it because it's going to take a lot of time. If you check this answer here, if you sub in -1 in the place of x, so remember you put it in the place of x here, you get an answer. You put it in the place of x here, you get an answer. You check if your left-hand side matches your right-hand side. If it doesn't, you have to reject that answer. And in this case, you will have to reject that answer. Okay, that's 1.1.4. Are you not squaring the 2? So that's a good question. There's no marks for checking no, but you have to exclude an answer. You have to exclude an answer because, sorry, the poll's gone. The poll was, it closed a while ago. You have to, so you don't have to show your checking. You can do it in your head, you can do it in your calculator, but you have to exclude an answer or you lose a mark. Okay, I see a lot of people are saying nature of roots. We won't, unfortunately, have time today to do nature of roots, but if there's enough interest in nature of roots, I can make a video on nature of roots because I've been meaning to do that. I just want to know if people want to see that. When do we know we should choose a question? Do you mean, what do you mean, like now in the lesson? Okay. I'll do one more if you guys are keen for one more. Okay. Should we do 1.2 or do you want to do 1.3? So let me go back to the questions. 1.2. No. Yeah. Sorry. 1.2 is this one or 1.1.3? Would you like another simultaneous or would you like another inequality? 1.2. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of people ask for nature of roots. I can definitely try and do that for you guys. Okay, let's do 1.2. Okay, people are saying both. Okay, 1.2 is a simultaneous equation. So solve for x and y simultaneously. This one's interesting because they're throwing an exponential in here. But this, if you take a look at this, I hope that you have some alarm bells going off in your head. Remember I said when you do simultaneous, you pick the easier equation and make something the subject of that equation. This is definitely not the easier equation because I've got x squared and I've got y squared. No. So I must be able to do something with this equation. It's a bit small, so I'm going to write it a bit bigger for you to see. I hope alarm bells are going off in your head and saying, oh, wait, but 27 is 3 to the power of 3. If that's going off in your head, then perfect. You are correct. Make the bases the same. And when the bases are the same, we can get rid of the base and you are left with the following. Then it's essentially exactly what we did in the previous question. In this case, I'm going to make x the subject. So I'm going to say 3 minus y. So all of this is going to be my first equation. I took that equation and I manipulated it. I use my exponential laws. Then what I do is I'm going to sub, this is my second equation, I'm going to sub 1 into number 2. So in the place, this is number 2, by the way, in case it's a bit small for you to see. In the place of x, I'm going to say 3 minus y, like that. Then you square the binomial, and I'm just going to tell you what the answer to that should be. It should be, we've got 9, okay, then we've got minus 3y minus 3y, okay, and then we've got plus y squared. That's all of this is the answer to the binomial, okay? Then we've got this plus y squared as well, so don't forget about that, equals 17. If I simplify that, I'm going to have 2y squared minus 6y minus 8 equals 0. As soon as you see a squared, a x squared, a y squared, whatever, get it into standard form. So there's my standard form. However, I've still got this coefficient of 2 here. All these terms can be divided by 2. So I've got y squared minus 3y minus 4 equals 0. What I then do, I'm running out of space. What I then do is I factorize. So it's y minus 4 and y plus 1 equals 0. So y is equal to negative 1 or y is equal to 4. Then our last step is to simply sub it back into the easier equation, this version of the easier equation. Okay, so x is equal to 3 minus 1. So 3 plus 1, which is 4, or x is equal to 3 minus 4, which is negative 1. Nice. Okay, where did the negative 8 come from? Okay, let me just double check that. Negative 8. Oh, good question. So the negative 8 is from here. You've got 9 and then the 17. So 9 minus 17. You subtract both sides by 17 to make it equal to 0. Okay. Let's see if there's another question. Okie dokie. I think what I want to do, just because everyone asked so nicely, is that other question. Let me see if I can find it. The one that I skipped. 1.1.3. I'm going to do that with you. And then I will chat to you before I go. Okay. So in this question, what I've got is a inequality. We can see because of that. So your first step is to get it into, and I'll show you the memo here, standard form is what they say, standard form. So what I did is, again, I try and avoid my x being negative. So I'm going to leave the x squared here. It's going to become plus 2x, and it's going to become minus 15. That is a smaller than 0, a less than 0 sign. If you look at their memo, exactly the same thing so far. Okay, so x squared plus 2x minus 15 equals 0. Then do you get a mark for that? You do, standard form. Either they're going to give a mark for standard form or they're going to give a mark for you factorizing correctly. Then, because it's quadratic, yeah, we have to factorize. It is a trinomial. So you've got x plus 5 and I've got x minus 3 is less than 0. Now, again, in my personal opinion, drawing the parabola is easier. So we've got our critical values is negative 5 and 3. So basically, x is negative 5, x is 3. I prefer just to list it like that, or you draw it on your diagram. So negative 5 is here, 3 is here. Please do draw the diagram. This, because it's positive, is a happy face parabola like that. It says here it's less than 0. We want to know where's this? Less than, not equal to. So let me not draw it badly. Less than 0. So as we said earlier, this is positive up here. These arms up there are positive. This down here is negative. Negative means less than 0. So the answer that I care about is this. Negative. Where is it less than 0? So it's one answer, one connected loop. As I said earlier, you put your x in the middle, you put your smallest critical value here, your bigger critical value here, your little crocodiles, I call them crocodiles. They're always going to face in the same direction. You are never going to have crocodiles like this. They always face in the same direction. And here, I do not put the equal to signs. No, I do not, because of what the question says. And that is your answer. Okay. So I'm sorry I went a little bit over the time I said I was going to, but I really wanted to do a little bit of extra stuff for you. I really, really do hope that it was helpful. Please let me know, because if people genuinely found it helpful, then I really do want to do more stuff like this in the future. Okay. You can use the quadratic formula instead of factorizing. Definitely, definitely. Okay. Okay, when is my next live? So at the moment, my next live is scheduled for next week, Wednesday. At the moment, I'm going to do physical sciences. Yay! I'm so glad that you found it helpful. Thank you so much for joining. I love doing lives. I like connecting with you and actually doing a lesson. It's really nice for me to interact and to meet all of you because I always see your comments. But I never get to see you speaking to me in real life. So it's super, super, super awesome to see it. And I really appreciate each and every single one of you for being here and for subscribing. So if you're not subscribed, then I hope you're joining us officially. But I really appreciate all of you. I cannot tell you how you have all given me the opportunity to do what I love doing. And this is like my purpose. I love doing this. Okay. Thank you so much. Please comment on my YouTube videos. Before you go, I just want to show you the platform again. Um, please comment on my YouTube videos what topics you want to see in future lives. So this is the platform for those of you that couldn't access it earlier. The platform I was using in today's video. Again, very, very helpful. When is the next live? So the next mass live I haven't scheduled yet. The code is in yellow on the screen. I haven't scheduled the next mass live. But my next live is next week, Wednesday, for physical sciences. Okay. And I definitely will try and get to the nature of roots video. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. I do see the nature of roots comment. Okay. I love you all. Thank you. I hope to see you again. And I hope to see you in my comments and stuff, letting me know like what you want to see and things like that. Bye, everybody. I won't forget redox.